gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of TV Unlimited. I'm, of course, Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois, joined once again by Mr. Steve Lynn. Steve, what's going on tonight?
Oh, we are into the final weeks before Cedar Point opens, so I'm very excited. The weather this weekend, it's been a little chillier and rainy, but we've had some nice summertime preview weather. And today Kings Island actually it's their opening day, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get down with tomorrow being Easter and all that. But looks like my first park of the season will be Cedar Point, and we're coming up on there pretty quickly.
Well, and lucky for you, what we're going to be talking about is if you have quite a bit of money in your pocket that you want to blow, yes, indeed, you can purchase the all-season fast lane at Cedar Point for $849. That low price there that pretty much everyone can afford, right?
What a deal. Yeah, that's just chump change for me. Let me just break open my piggy bank and pull that out. Find it under the seat in my car.
This was something that everyone speculated on. Would Cedar Point ever pull out the all-season fast lane? We saw it at some of the other parks. We first saw it at Dorney, where they like to test these sort of things out. And we saw it expand to other parks last year, moderately priced. But Cedar Point's always been that special case where people were worried that if you start selling the all-season fast lane for a under market value price, I want to say, that more people would buy it. It would destroy all the lines. People already complain about the fast lane lines, and we're not going to get into that debate tonight, although you can go back on many uncut episodes and hear me and Danny talk about that debate till you're blue in the face. So if you want to hear that one, just go. Even the recent Cedar Fair financial show, just go there. We talk all about it. But tonight what we're going to talk about is the price point that they set. And I actually think the $849, I think that's actually a really good price. I'm not going to buy it. You're not going to buy it. But I think that is the perfect price that's set because most people who go there a lot say, well, that's way too much. I'm not going to spend $850 on Fastlane. But there is going to be a segment of the population that I think is going to be interested in this. And so they're still going to make money off of it, the park. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to negatively impact the Fastlane line. So where do you think you stand on this?
Well, so I'm a little torn. Obviously, I think it's a great thing that they're doing for the people who do want to do it, the season pass holders, platinum pass holders specifically. They're their most loyal customer base. So for them to offer something like that, it is definitely a great perk to have if you can afford it, if you want to drop that money, if you are able to even afford it. If I can tell you, if I had a $1 million paycheck a year, I don't think I would bother with it, even though I'd definitely be able to afford it at that point. What I'm interested to see is what are they going to do if they start rolling this out at other parks? If you can get all season Fastlane for that price with a platinum pass to be able to use it at Kings Island, Kings Dominion, Dorney Park, Michigan's Adventure, all their other parks, is that going to increase the price? Will they have to increase the price at that point? I think at that point you would have to increase it.
Well, and that's been the other discussion, that people are like, $850, that's ridiculous, and you only get to use it at Cedar Point. Well, yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point of Fastlane is it's an extreme upcharge. Even the everyday Fastlane. When I was walking through the park last year, and I was there on a few Saturdays, and they were charging $165 per day for Fastlane Plus. Mm-hmm. That's outrageous. So if you got that kind of money, you're talking about an extreme upcharge. I won't say it's a VIP experience because it's really not. We've seen VIP experiences at other parks that are much more pricey. So I'm not saying that. But this is priced exactly at the point where it makes you think twice before you buy it. That you're not going to just walk into a park and just say, of course I'm buying Fastlane today. Most rational people who are on a budget, who have limited resources, are going to walk into the park and maybe buy Fastlane, but a lot of people are going to be like, no, that's way too expensive for me. And I feel that the $850, if you work it out, you have to use it probably about 6 times to be able to break even, depending on what days you buy it, because we know it's a dynamic pricing system. So you can't just use one number and divide it out. It's a dynamic
Right.
pricing system. So if you use it on a few Saturdays, last year, like I said, $165, you use it, 5, 6 times, you broke even. Now you might need like 8 or 9 times if you use it during the weekend. And most people I read were kind of like, well, I go to the park a lot. I'll just pick days that are light. Well, okay, that's the point of this.
Yeah.
It's not for you. See, I don't think this was designed for the local season pass holder that goes there all the time. That's not for them. If you have that extra cash, sure, those people might buy into it. If you have that much disposable income, they might still buy into it and not care about it because they're like, well, if it's light one day, it's going to be heavy the next day, whatever. But I think this pass is designed for those people who travel in maybe from Chicago. I think I'm actually the market for this because I travel in from Chicago. There's been years that I go 7 to 9 times, or I go to 7 weekend trips. And every time I go, I'm staying 2 or 3 nights. Well,
Hmm.
now I'm talking about 14 days that I'm going to Cedar Point. I'm traveling in 4 hours every time. So now I'm in that perfect market where I might not be able to determine, oh, I can go on a Wednesday or I can go on a Tuesday. If I'm only going on weekends and staying the weekend for that weekend excursion, then I'm kind of like that market of it's those type of people that they want to hit. Those people that are coming for the weekend, for a multiple day stay. And I don't think it's for the person that's living 2 blocks down, because you go in after a rainstorm and the place, you have fast lane for free that day.
Yeah.
The place is a ghost town. So like if you're local, you know how to play that game. I don't get to play that game. I live 4 hours away. I can't just say, "Oh, it rained today. I'm going to go up to Cedar Point." Like
Yeah.
that's not within the realm of
And with
possibility.
me only being an hour away, it's one, I can make a trip much more easily. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
get a hotel to stay there. I can go there for the day, go home. Also, with that, if I go there and the park's extremely busy, I may only get 2 rides. And that's the great thing about having a season pass is that, oh, it's extremely busy today. Didn't get to ride Millennium. I'll ride it next week when I come. That's why I wouldn't see the value for me in getting this, just because I'm not going to the park expecting to marathon rides over and over and over
Yeah.
again. Uh, and what I think this year is mainly going to be a trial run for this. See how many people get it. Because what's crazy is, so for the $850, that's an add-on. That doesn't include the price of your pass. So
No.
season
No.
pass, a platinum pass is about $200. Add the 850, you're at $1,050. Plus, most people are probably getting that $30 drink add-on, which brings
Yep.
you to $1,080. Plus, how much? I don't have the all-season meal plan, but how much is that? Another
That's
200.
usually about 100. I don't even remember. I just buy it. It's
So we'll
so
just say another $100. So
yeah.
that's $1,100. That's more expensive than an annual pass to Disney. An annual pass to
Yeah.
Disney is right around $900, which with that, I mean, it does kind of include whatever it's called, Fast Pass Plus. It's not,
Yeah.
how they've changed it all around and everything. So you can't just, I don't know, you got to schedule things in advance, and
Yes.
a lot of the rides are booked months in advance. So, um, yeah, I mean, but if this is something you can afford, if it's something that you want to do, you plan to go to the park and want to marathon every single ride in one day, each time you go to the park, this is great for you. Someone like me who, I enjoy going and just kind of hanging out. If the line's too long, oh well, I'll ride it a couple weeks later. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I feel like Cedar Point's testing this to see how it does at this park, if they're going to add it to other parks. Now, there's always, Kings Island people, they had to Kings Island decided to keep their gold pass because
Mhm.
that was part of when it was owned by Paramount. I feel like they're just going to have to find some way to if they want to include this at other parks, they're going to have to do the same thing with how they did all season dining. You're going to have to pay an extremely higher price if you have a platinum pass, because you're going to be able to use it at other parks. If you
Well,
just have your generic season pass, maybe it'll be $100 cheaper because that's the only park you're going to go to. But at the same time, if Cedar Point's the only park you're going to, that it would make more sense to have it priced higher just for Cedar Point because it's a more popular park. The lines are probably a lot longer at Cedar Point than they'd be at a smaller park like Michigan's Adventure.
And I'll be honest with you, if they went to an all-season fast lane that you could use at any park, now you're talking about adding a whole lot more people who would be interested. Even people like Danny Miller, who, like Danny gets fast lane at almost every park he goes to. So for him to get fast lane at just Cedar Point doesn't make sense because he only goes
Right.
there one weekend. But if he goes to Cedar Point one weekend, Kings Island one weekend, Carolyn's one weekend, Kaga one weekend, that now you're talking and you're going to add that up real quick. And depending on what that price point is, and maybe that's at $850, maybe that's a slightly higher at $1,000. Now you're talking about maybe making people think twice and saying, well, maybe I would go into the all-season fast lane.
Yeah.
That would be across the parks. We haven't seen them roll that out yet. I don't know if I'm in favor of that because I like it. I like fast lane, the system that's set up. I think there's a lot of flaws in it, number one. But I think that my key has always been that you really need to keep it exclusive, that you need to keep it at a price point that you don't flood the system. Because the minute you flood the system, you destroy the regular line and then people stop having fun. And some people will argue, I've argued in the past that fast lane's already creating that, the way it is set up, and now you're adding more people into it. But I think there's always that delicate balance of the number of fast lanes you sell versus the number. You can't just, it's not, this isn't printing money. That there's always going to be a negative return, and that negative return is going to be in the enjoyment of people who do not buy fast lane, which is still the majority of people. The majority of people walking through the gate are not buying fast lane. And you got to keep those people walking through the gate. So if all of those people get upset because they're waiting in longer and longer lines, they're going to stop coming. And that extra money you're making on fast lane is going to be quickly negated by the $5 to $50 tickets that you just lost out on. So there's a balance here. This isn't just like printing money for the park. So It's like, oh, everyone who buys fast lane, because also if everyone buys fast lane, then there is no other regular line. So there is a problem there too. You still have to keep it exclusive. And I think the $850 price point for Cedar Point is right where I think it should be. But then if we start talking about an all chain-wide season fast lane, I don't know what that price point is. And it might be $850, it might be $1,000, it might be higher. I'll have to see if they ever decide to go that road, which I don't know if they will.
I think it would be very hard for them to do that because like the fast lane prices at Cedar Point on a Saturday are what, $140, $160.
Yeah.
A Saturday at somewhere like Dorney Park, maybe they're only $60 more.
$55, $60 sometimes, maybe.
People who are getting that at Dorney, their main park's Dorney, they're going there 10 times a year. They're going to Cedar Point maybe once, maybe not at all.
Yeah.
Just because they have a platinum pass, they're kind of they could be screwed because of that all season, the chain, all season fast lane, that's going to increase their price a lot. So that's why now that I think more about it, I don't think they would do something like that. I think they'll keep it park specific. But then
you never know because they start seeing dollar signs and they start coming up with bright ideas. And I never thought they would make the dining plan all chain wide. I never thought they'd make the drink plan all chain wide, and they've done both of those. So it's
and like the people who are like right in between, maybe you're in Columbus, you're right in between Cedar Point and Kings Island. If you do have to end up buying two separate add-ons for each park, you're talking another $800, $1,600 just for fast lane at Cedar Point, fast lane at Kings Island on top of your price, your pass plus your food. I'm wondering if this is going to affect the price of the single day fast lane prices on Saturdays. I wonder if I would imagine they're going to increase the price this year anyway, just because. But I'm wondering if the fact that they're doing this is if they're gonna see tons of season pass holders using the fast lane on Saturday, if that's going to cause the price for the single day fast lanes to increase.
Well, and then you also start wondering that you start looking at the Disney model and how they have, if you remember the old Disney annual passes, you brought that up, and how they had certain blackout dates on it. Could you get a season? but then it's like, could you get a season fast lane with blackout dates and they knock off some of the Halloween weekends? But then the question is why would I even need it? Because that's why I would be buying it, is so
Right.
that I don't have to wait in lines during, Columbus Day weekend at Halloween weekends, which is the most busy the park is. So there's a lot of, permutations here, a lot of different options. But I think as the program stands, $850 for 1 year for Cedar Point only, I actually kind of like that price. I'm not going to buy it. Not any chance in the world am I going to buy it. But I kind of like that price because it keeps it exclusive enough, and it's not going to add to the overall fast lane line. And I think there will be people who buy it, and I think the park's going to make money. So it's a win for me. It's a win for the park, and I think that's my takeaway from this whole thing.
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty much in agreement with you. They haven't announced anything for if this is gonna work with like the Fright Lane or not Fright Lane. Is it
No,
Fright Lane?
yeah, Fright Lane. They haven't said anything about that. I would assume that would be a completely separate
Because
thing.
they're normally separate too. When you go to the park, you would have to buy Fast Lane
Yes.
and Fright Lane separately. So I'm wondering maybe they're gonna add that as an add-on as well, closer to Halloween weekends. Maybe see how this goes in the beginning of
Oh,
the
those
season.
lines already.
That would so that would be something that I would be interested in if it's not $800. I
Well,
don't think they
that's
take
something
that
I
that
would
much.
be completely against, because those haunt lines move so slow because of Fright Lane. And you just add more people into that, just walking through. And what I've experienced is I've built haunted houses in the past at my high school. And I've experienced that as people walk through haunted houses more, what you see happen is the number of incidents, the number of issues that you have with people messing around in those haunted houses greatly goes up each time the person goes through. I'm not saying every person going through is causing an issue, but you do get those groups that go through 5, 6 times and they start causing issues on the fifth and sixth time. Because right now, Fright Lane is 1 time per night, so that's kind of
Yeah,
what kind of holds it in. And I think a lot of haunts have figured that out. That as people, if you were to allow unlimited trips through, as you go through more often, it causes more problems because you know
yeah.
what's coming.
I was a screamster in Blood on the Bayou. Oh man, that was like 4 or 5 years ago now, and there were definitely groups of middle schoolers who would go through over and
Yes,
over and over again. And the
yes,
more they went through, they'd start running through. They'd start talking back to the screamsters,
yes.
and trying to pick a fight. Little
Yep.
13-year-old kids pick and fight with monsters. Always a fun time to watch. But
Oh, yep. That's exactly my experience as well. So there you go. So that's not just Chicago. That's everywhere in the world. So we'll wrap it up there tonight. So as always, thank you for joining us here on CP Unlimited. We love talking about Cedar Point. And we will bring you more and more info as the season progresses here. I'm, of
yep,
course, Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
I'm Steve Lynn from Cleveland, Ohio.
Right on, right, Warriors.